again. It's me, Adam.
And me, Jenna.
She finally did it right. We are going to do another comic book review. I said I was going to try to do one a day. I read more than one comic book a day, so literally it's just sitting down and doing the video.
Well, it's hard to find time when you have kids.
The one we are going to review today is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Urban Legends. This is by Gary Carlson and Frank Fosco with an Eric Larson cover. Now the thing about this, it's IDW. This is issue 1. It came out last week or the week before. I get my books every 2 weeks because my shop is not in, it's not close, so they mail them. This one is a reprint of Image Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1. Now that series was canceled in the early 90s. I'm not sure why. I assume it's a combination of low sales. The reason the sales were probably low, I think, is multiple reasons. People were fatigued with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the early 90s, and they had developed this, people thought that they were for children. And the kids who had grown up reading them didn't have a nostalgia factor yet. They thought, oh, those are for babies. And then there was no adults who had a nostalgia factor because they'd only been around for less than 10 years at that point. So I think that's one of the reasons why this series got canceled. Anyway, fans have been clamoring for 20 years for the how did this end? What happens with this series? So IDW, again, the publisher, IDW, bought the rights to this series, and they are going to give Gary Carlson and Frank Fosco 3 more issues, I believe, to finish the series, and they're reprinting them all. This time they're reprinting them in color, and another thing that I think could have led to dwindling sales in the early 90s is they were in black and white. And black and white is a niche market. The original Ninja Turtles were able to get over in black and white, but in the mid-90s, that didn't work so well, especially with Image, whose big thing was we use gloss paper, we don't use newsprint. They really were big on quality, and I think to some people, although it's not necessarily right, black and white comes off as lower quality.
I just personally don't like black and white. I don't know, it's kind of harder. I don't know if it's harder to read, but it's just people like color. Color is vibrant. I mean, that's going back to like the olden days. People were excited when they got color TVs because it gave a new dimension to something that was before.
The people in Pleasantville weren't, though. They were very upset when they saw color.
Well, that's different.
So onto the book. This book looks really good in color. The colors were done by, I'm sorry, give me one moment and I will tell you who. The colors were done by Adam Guzowis, what are you going to say on that? Guzwowski, I'll say that. Okay, so Adam Guzwowski, he did the colors on this. The colors came out looking great. And this is a high quality comic too. The paper is thick. It is a glossy paper as well. So it looks really good. It presents really well, if nothing else. It's better than just how it looks, but it looks very good. And the colors in this, they pop. Yeah. Adam Guzwowski did a great job. Now, one thing that I do know is this book was drawn with the intention of being colored. But somewhere between drawing it and the initial press run, the decision was made. Eric Larson was the editor at the time, so Eric probably made this decision. Original series editor Eric Larson. I thought I was right on that. But he probably made the decision to go in black and white because the original comics had been in black and white. But the next issues, their original intent wasn't to be colored. So one, it's not a surprise that it looks good. I'm interested to see how the next issues look, the ones that were intended to be in black and white.
I don't know. I like the color. Personally, if I see a
Jenna's thinking right now, what in the world is he talking about?
well, no, I mean I get what you're saying, but personally, if I see a book that is in black and white, I put it back. I'm not interested.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are that way.
So I like the color personally. If it was black and white and he handed it to me and asked me to read it, I probably would not have done it.
And on to the story. Gary Carlson, who is a great writer, and Frank Fosco did the art and the writing. And Frank, I actually own a original piece by Frank, so he is an artist that I really like. He's one of my favorite artists. So I think the art is spectacular in this book, and the writing is on point. The book starts with the turtles turning 18. As they're having their party, some cyborgs and this chick who is dressed kind of like Elektra, kind of like Demolition from the WWE, and with her butt cheeks hanging out, comes
and
in.
And a mask over her face?
Yeah, well, that's where the Demolition from WWE, how they wore those masks.
Oh, okay.
They come in and they capture Splinter, they shoot Donatello, and the turtles are kind of perplexed as, what do we do? How are we going to get them?
Because they're always used to following Master Splinter's orders, I think.
Yes. And it is just, if you're familiar with the turtles, you're familiar with them always winning. Mm-hmm. When you look through the movies and the cartoons and the early comics, they always win. And they really got the crap kicked out of them.
They did, yeah.
At the beginning of this book. So I think instantly Gary and Frank create villains that are a threat, which a good villain is a must for any comic book. And they do that just by showing us. They don't tell us, they show us. They come in and just absolutely obliterate the turtles.
And even when they think it's over, when they think the fight is over, Raph gets his face like blown off.
Yeah, and it's very gory and bloody.
Yeah, the colors I think do really well to show how badly they were injured.
Yeah, absolutely. And I lost my train of thought.
And then I think, was it Mikey was like, oh, I think we have some bandages and salve. Like that's gonna save his face.
But this book and the story, without giving away too many spoilers, even though it's 20 years old, it's a re-release, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who didn't read the original who might pick this up. I think that this is a very strong turtle story. It was this was one of my favorite runs when it was coming out, 20 years ago. But it's nice to see it reprinted in color, and I knew what I was going into when I started reading it. Jenna didn't. So what is your overall take on the issue?
I really liked it. I thought they did a good job of capturing the banter of the turtles as brothers. It's funny because when I first saw that all their masks were going to be red, I was a little bit worried because I didn't know how I was going to tell them apart. But I think by just reading it, you can tell who each one is by the way that they comment and the things that they do. I think they did a good job at picking up like the quintessential. Each character acts a certain way, and you can pick it up by reading the book. Because when I was a kid, I did watch the Turtles a lot. I really liked it. I was maybe like 5 or 6, or maybe, no, probably more like about 5. And I really enjoyed it. My favorite was always Donatello. But when I read it, I really enjoyed how they captured each one of the characters' personality. I felt like they did that really well. And the villain, I don't know, I really liked the banter with the villain. I thought it was really funny. And I'm curious to see, you kind of wonder how they're going to get back and, win. So they leave you on that type of a cliffhanger, like what are they going to do? How are they going to regroup? And so you're interested to see where that's going to go. And I liked it overall. I was surprised. I didn't know how I was going to feel about it because that's not something I would typically pick up or gravitate to. Like, I liked the Turtles when I was younger, but that's not really my thing so much anymore. But I liked it. It took me back to my childhood, kind of.
It feels, with it starting with a birthday party, and they're becoming adults. It's their 18th birthday. It feels almost like they're saying, like Gary is saying, hey, the Turtles are growing up too. They're not the ones you knew as a kid. And my favorite part was the feel of early 90s Image comics is so strong in here.
Yeah, it really does take you back to the 90s. That's the feel that I got as well.
The villains, they look over the top and ridiculous. I mean, that's what I love, like, with everything, with comics, with, I was a big wrestling fan as a kid, and I don't care a lot for it now because there's no over-the-top characters. There's no...
Sometimes a little bit of cheese is good.
It is. And for this issue, I really enjoyed. I felt everything fit perfectly. I really enjoyed it. The colors looked great. That was the only thing that I was kind of wondering about how they would look. For issue 2, the one that's supposed to be in black and white on, we'll see how the colors fit in there. But number 1, they knocked it out of the park. I really love that IDW is bringing this series back. I hope that enough people get behind it that instead of just having 3 additional issues, we get a prolonged run from Gary and Frank on the Ninja Turtles. And Erica is not an editor-in-chief on this one. I don't think he has anything to do with it. Now, this is his cover that I purchased, but on the inside page, there's 3 store-exclusive covers, 2 Kevin Eastman covers, and Frank also has a cover on here, which I really like Frank's cover. I don't know if you can see it, but it is the first one there. I really like his cover, and yeah. And if I do see it, I'll pick it up. This is just the one that my comic book store sent me. I didn't pick any out. And of course, I do collect Eric's stuff, so I didn't mind getting Eric's cover. But overall, I would give this 4.5 out of 5 stars. I just loved it. We had a video about a week ago about Man of Steel, and we said, Bendis, for all that he's supposed to bring to the table, he didn't blow me away. It didn't wow me on his first issue to start the story. This is the complete opposite. This is how you start a story, I feel.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like people, they take it too far when they try to make it their own. And it no longer is how it should be, I guess, because, like, what you have to do is you have to take the characters that have already been made and make a good story with them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't change the character to fit your story.
Yeah.
And I feel like this story lends well to the Ninja Turtles that we all know and love.
Yeah.
So
the way it starts out with them, like I said, having a birthday party in their home, and it feels kind of familiar, like, oh, this is where the Turtles live, of course. And then they and you as the reader are interjected into the world that Gary and Frank have created for this series. They just come bursting in, and they do it subtly, so it's not like, this is our series in your face, but it's an introduction to a new world.
Well, and the villain that they have created, or the villains, I guess, because they're multiples. I feel like I could have seen them back in the 90s.
Yeah.
In a cartoon episode that was on TV. They just really, they fit well with the theme, and I hope that they continue with it being a story submerged in the 90s.
So overall, how did you feel?
I would give it 4 stars. For me to give it 4.5 or 5 stars, that's a hard thing for me to do to rate any book that way, because it would have to be just like flawless, I guess. And I can think of one thing that kind of irked me.
What's that?
It didn't irk me, I guess, but I just felt like it was a little bit silly. Here, let me pull it out. So one of the cyborgs, he, I guess, can regenerate or something. And he's like sitting there like talking to them and explaining to them like how he regenerates. And it just made me cringe a little bit, because like...
Well, that's what bad guys do. Bad guys spell out everything for you.
I know, but I don't.
It's so
like
typical.
It.
Yeah.
It is. I don't like it when anybody does that. Like, I don't.
And now let me tell you my master plan.
Yeah, I know. But then when I think about it, like, how else could they have explained all that? Well, they couldn't have. He would have had to say it, because this is a comic book, and that's how it would have had to have been. So I get why they did it, because there's no other way. But just, I don't know, I don't like the whole, like, this is what I was going to do all along, and I can do this, and I don't know, I don't like that.
Let's look at Raph's face at the end.
I know, that just blew me away. Like, I couldn't help but kind of laugh a little bit.
That is brutal. And he's like, I can't see.
Yeah.
Because you don't have any eyelids and your eyeballs are burnt.
I know, he has, like, no clue, and then Mikey is just like...
We've got some salve.
Yeah. And you're just like, oh, Mikey, you would. And it's so funny.
So this is, I think, the first book that we've agreed pretty heavily on. It is definitely, if you see it, pick it up.
Yes.
And it's worth reading.
I liked it. I would recommend it, and I will read the second one, because I'm curious to see. So they only did the first and second one from the 90s?
No, I think it had like 30 issues.
Oh, so they're redoing all 30?
Yeah, it's... I don't know exactly how many they had. Give me a second and let me get my phone, and I will tell you. So there were 23 issues of Gary Carlson and Frank Fosco's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and there will be 3 additional issues. So there will be 26 total, unless IDW decides to keep it going, which I hope they do. And there was also a 4-issue miniseries through Image that Kevin Eastman did called Body Count. So the total Image issues from 1996 to 2000 was 27 issues. The 23 and then the miniseries.
Did you read them?
But the miniseries did not connect to this one. They're 2 completely different things, but Image produced all those.
Did you read it whenever it was out?
Yeah, I read them when I could get them. They're really hard to find. When they were coming out, I was 13 to 15. Oh. So I was dependent on my parents' charity to buy me comic books. And that was a hit or miss situation.
Yeah, I didn't read comic books until I was like 18 or 17. No, 18, because that's what I knew.
Yeah. So that is our review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 Urban Legends. If you're a Turtles fan, pick it up. If you're a comic book fan, pick it up. If you're an early 90s Image fan, pick it up. And if you just like to read fun things, pick it up.
Or if you like nostalgia. Like, now that I'm getting older, find myself being very nostalgic.
I find myself being nostalgic for things that happened like yesterday. I'll be like, do you remember that sandwich I had yesterday?
Alright, you guys. Well, give this video a thumbs up. Leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you think. And tell us who your favorite turtle is.
Yeah, tell us who your favorite turtle is. Raph.
Mine is, well, when I was a kid it was Donatello, but now that I'm older I really like Mikey.
It's Raph.
So leave us a comment down below. And last but not least, if you're not subscribed, please hit the shiny red subscribe button so you can watch us.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night. Bye.